despite their shitty practices, what's the game company we all know Gaboon loves / hates? It's motherfucking Nintendo. Honestly, I've been playing a lot of Nintendo as of late because, you know, I mean, I don't normally make time for myself to have fun, but lately I've been playing a lot of Smash Brothers. You know, I've even started playing through a lot of Xenoblade, like replaying it, because I love the first Xenoblade Chronicles. So, I've been practicing a lot into that. But that's not what we're here to talk about. What we're here to talk about is Clock Tower. Now, this is an old-ass game from way back in the day on the Super Nintendo, or Super Famicom, honestly, because it never got localized outside Japan. But this was a game that was a point-and-click adventure back on Super Nintendo, even predating games like Resident Evil and Silent Hill. And I gotta say, it's pretty good at what it does. It has an atmosphere that is pretty chilling, in my personal opinion. And to see it coming back on the Switch, PS5, Xbox Series, I'm gonna say it like that because there's two different versions of Xbox. It's pretty unique because also I know that they're doing things like, it's pretty much the same game. You know, there's like, it's not really a remake. It's still, they're doing the pixelation stuff. Just some of the gameplay mechanics they're kind of changing up, and they're also reanimating cutscenes and whatnot. So nothing too crazy, but they're doing things like fixing it up and even kind of polishing it in some ways where a modern audience can enjoy it, as well as, you know, being localized. Because for a while, I thought the only way I'd be able to play this game would be through an emulator, because I've never played it before. Scissorman stalks again. Clock Tower will be reborn via the Carbon engine for the Switch, PlayStation, Xbox, and Steam in 2024. This collaboration between Capcom, Sunsoft, WayForward, and Limited Run revives the seminal Super Famicom survival horror and introduces it to a new, modern audience. And they have made a trailer, so let's just see what the people at WayForward are cooking up for Clock Tower. Oh, yo, it's the and the boom from the main menu.
Starting with
the
River
super long
we've been bringing these
intro to the
Japanese-only
select
releases
screen
to a Western audience.
And I think being able to put that on modern platforms is fantastic. Allows more people to experience something that they may have never experienced before. We are definitely
I've never
looking into
experienced
more
this
of
game
these.
before. Not
personally, I want to see more horror games.
I'm
Like,
Mariel
I know this
Cartwright.
game because it's
I
like
am the
Scissor
creative lead
Man.
of the
Bobby
Portland
wasn't that his
version of
name?
Clock
He
Tower.
just chases you with the shears.
I've
or
always been
giant
a big
scissors.
horror
I don't know,
fan.
it's one
I
of them.
love, you know, Resident Evil and Silent Hill. I just love horror games in general and horror movies. But Clock Tower in particular is a game that I discovered when I was probably about 16, and it holds a really special place in my heart because at the time
I was
was
in
the scariest thing I had ever
8th
played.
grade,
As this character Jennifer,
and it was
I'm
through
trying to get
JonTron's
away
video.
from the Scissor Man.
There he is.
We have a ton of games where you're
Jay
fighting
Leno with the
monsters and
moldy
you're shooting
prune
them with
face.
guns, and that can still be scary, but Clock Tower is distinct in that you really don't have any of those tools.
It was one of the first
You're defenseless.
experiences for me.
It's kind of like Outlast in a
that
way.
really was
I wonder
like
if they
that
ever
in
took
terms
it,
of horror.
inspiration
and I
from
think
that.
that's fantastic.
It is true survival horror. You know, you can only survive, and I think it is a game that has a lot of quieter tension. Jennifer is
Don't
such
look.
an
As long as you
interesting
didn't look,
character because
it's not.
at the start of the game, we don't know a lot about her, and I think the game does such an amazing job of revealing a very heartbreaking story about her, you know, through different playthroughs of the game because it has a bunch of endings. And I think that's part of what got me so attached.
There's kind of like the reverse engineering aspect of it, and then there's the other aspect of like, how do you get this stuff back into the game?
Usually we always try to have both the legacy product that
Oh my goodness, I saw the skeleton
and
meme.
also
One of
offer
those
something
like
that's surprising. Like in River City Zero, we had the manga cutscenes. That's a fun little surprise for people.
Directing the animated opening is pretty crazy.
That's where we can add our own creativity, adding intro sequences,
Ooh,
new translations.
Maybe it's just that I'm a wee, but I actually really,
There's a
I
lot
think
of, like,
it looks
scripting
cool
events in
that they're
there,
doing
so
that.
There might be a command to say, change the display speed of text. That's kind of been a tricky thing too with localization. It's like, how do I represent that?
Being able to kind of oversee that and bring a new vision of this game to life, to be a part of it in any way at all, is just incredible.
Early 2024 for Nintendo Switch, PS5 and 4, and the Xbox and Steam. Wait, Capcom originally made this as well? Really? Is Capcom somehow involved in this series? That's no. Oh yeah, because Clock Tower 3. Yeah, I remember that. Okay, that's cool. Pretty neat, pretty nifty. From what I saw in the trailer, it's it has potential. It's exciting anyway. It's just basically the original game, but with some updated stuff like the cutscenes. You know, it's not just those pixelated pictures that we were seeing in the original. It's kind of more animated. Yeah, they updated it to like have some anime stuff. It's kind of way forward touch. You know, I personally have not really played too much of Way Forward. You know, the only things I know about them is River City Girl, Shantae, and I remember back on the Xbox 360, they had that Adventure Time game. It was like where you were going through the dungeon or whatever it was. And they're all fun. I like them. So he's like, you know what? Them being the people that are actually remastering, that's how I'll word it because I feel like that's what it would be. Remastering Clock Tower is a pretty good choice because they've had a pretty good legacy so far with games like that. Like I said, the way that I discovered Clock Tower was through JonTron. When I was back in like 8th grade, I was sitting in my science class on my school Chromebook and I was just watching the video. And then at that point, I actually kind of developed an obsession with Clock Tower. Even though I never played the game, I was just on YouTube the entire time watching a bunch of playthroughs of it. So I kind of know how the story goes. I know like the cannibal. I know how, well, I don't want to say it, but there's something behind a wall eventually in the game. And also, Bobby Scissorman, what he is and everything. You know, it's an interesting story. I really enjoyed the game, even though I've never played it. Who knows, maybe the gameplay was pretty archaic by today's standards. I also don't know too well what the Carbon engine is or what it does. I feel like that's like a way of also saying like the mechanics for the old game from Human was pretty archaic, and this is their way of kind of updating the way the game plays. You know, with it's still a point-and-click adventure at the end of the day, but they've changed it up enough to where it's not the same old system, but it's got its own unique mechanics to where it makes this version maybe a little bit more easily accessible when played versus how it originally was. Also, I know I said that I put a lot of time into Smash as of late, but I could see myself putting a lot more time into this game. Well, actually, not really a lot more time, because I have a lot of time into Smash. But I can see myself putting a lot of time as well into Clock Tower, as I have been doing a lot of Resident Evil 4 as of late. So I'm going to be dipping my toes into this water very soon and seeing if Way Forward did the game justice or if it absolutely is a failure of a remaster. Honestly, I don't think you can like fully like fuck up with like a remaster because it's a remaster. The only like really big concern that I have for the Clock Tower remaster is if you can still like we heard that scream in the trailer, you know, it's just like one of the characters probably got killed or something. I wonder if they're just going to keep it where, because they are using a new engine, I wonder if they're going to keep it to where, like, as long as you don't look, then it never happened. I'm wondering, if they get rid of that, I'm going to be super sad, because that was one of the ways to get the absolute best ending, was ignoring a character pretty much dying, and then they would just still be alive at the end of the game. So I'm hoping that they keep that around, because if they don't, then I'm going to give it a bit of a down vote on this. Because that was something I really enjoyed about how I watched from the original game, was the fact that you could just ignore it and it basically was like, oh, that never happened. So, as long as they get that right, I think everything's all good with how this game is going to be. That's about it, but of course, as always, I hope y'all have a damn good one, and take care of yourselves.